Yeah, okay, welcome back, all of you. We have Professor Apurva Das from IIT Delhi with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
So, Professor Das is a professor in the Department of Textile and Fiber Engineering and Institute Chair Professor, IIT Delhi. He joined the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi in the year 2002 as a faculty after serving in the textile industry and in research organization for about 11 years. He has guided many PhD, MTech, BTech students and presently also guiding several of them. He has published more than 275 research papers in journals and conferences, authored and edited 8 books, monographs, and written 26 chapters in books. So he has successfully completed more than 50 research projects from government funding agencies and carried out many consultancy projects from industries. Presently, he is handling several research and consultancy projects. He has developed several instruments for characterization of textile materials and filed 12 patent applications. His main areas of teaching and research interest are clothing comfort, sports textiles, nonwovens and technical textiles, protective textiles, filter fabrics, geotextiles, medical bandage, textile composites, and instrumentation. He's a recipient of Teaching Excellence Award, and he has international research collaborations with universities from different countries like Germany, Poland, Hungary, Slovenia, Italy, Portugal, China, South Korea, UK, Hong Kong, and Croatia. So we are really privileged, sir, to have you with us. And it is our great honor that you have been a part of all the initiatives that the Department of Textile Technology, NIT Jalandhar, has taken up, and you kindly agree to say help us around every time. Thank you very much, sir, for joining in. And I would request you to start with your presentation for the session, which is on clothing comfort. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Professor Sikka, for introduction. And it's not helping you. Basically, it's our duty. It's our job. We like that. We have to do this, all these activities. Okay. And now, thank you, everyone. Good morning. Okay. And I'll just start sharing the slides. Just,
good morning.
Thank you. Is the slide visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now, so I am actually that from IIT Delhi, and as Professor Sikka has already introduced, and I am very happy to be part of this initiative, this program, and so my today's talk will be related to comfort. It's basically a part of comfort. It's a sensation and touch. Apart from its understanding clothing sensation and touch. Okay, there are the comfort is it's not simply by measuring air permeability or measuring water vapor or thermal transmission. It's not that. Comfort is it's a overall sensation. Okay, that our body respond. Okay, our brain respond. That's the comfort. Okay, now. Today I will touch upon the sensation part, how we related to only clothing. There are sensations from many stimulus, like sound, like odor or perfume, say. So there are different sensations. So today our discussion will be, as we are from textile and we are from clothing. So I will discuss only on sensation related to touch, okay, and related to clothing and different aspects of sensations. I will discuss quickly. in case of any doubt, we can discuss on the spot. If you have any doubt, anything, if you need any clarification during talk, I will discuss. It's not simply lecture. I want it to be interactive. So you can simply interrupt me. We'll discuss on that. Okay. So if you talk about the clothing as a material or it's a stimulus, you have to understand the neurophysiology. Okay, I'm not asking that we have to understand like physiologist, but neurophysiologist, but we should understand the correlation. Okay, and how the clothing touch is related. And so that ultimately our job is ultimate as a textile engineer or clothing engineer, apparel engineer. Our job is to design a clothing, okay, so which are always in contact with our body and to give our comfort sensation. Okay. So if we ask why neurophysiology is required to understand the clothing, okay. Basically, if you see, this is I have taken from the open source, internet source. This sense of touch is actually in our skin. You will see this is our skin outer layer, and these are the hairs, and there are different layers of skin with epidermis is the outer layer, and that contains many sensors. Okay, the skin contains different sensors, and sensors you can divide mainly into two types of sensors which are related to clothing. There are different other sensors. I will discuss only two types of sensors. One is mechanical sensors, another is thermal sensors. Those are related to the clothing. This is the outer layer, and clothing interact with this outer layer where different sensors are there. They interact and they get response. Okay, so these are the receptors, and through that sensation comes. There are mechanical sensation like a touch, pressure, vibration, different types like cloth is slipping over the skin. This type of sensations are being received by the receptors, and there are different types of receptors like Meissner receptors, Pacinian receptor, Ruffini. So these are the receptors. They receive different types of sensation. Okay, like the type of sensation which Meissner will receive, Pacinian will not be able to receive. These are basically due to the structure of these corpuscles and the depth. Like Meissner, if you see, its depth is very close to the skin surface. That means it will be able to sense the light touch. Okay, it's called tactile sensation. Like Pacinian sensation, it's a pressure, because it's a depth at a certain depth, and depending on the pressure, the deformation of this muscle and the skin will take place, and after that this Pacinian will get the sensation. Like a tight fit clothing will have a sensation by Pacinian sensation, and we feel sometime pressure where the clothing are tight. And similarly, Meissner is normally it's a light touch sensation we get through these sensors. And neurophysiology is basically it's a combination of neuroscience and physiology, which deals with the nervous system, and the sensation which our sensors receive through the spinal cord, it goes to the brain, and what brain gives the general sensation. The sense of touch is considered as general sensation due to distribution of sensors throughout the body. You will see in our body, these sensors are distributed. So the clothing gives sensation to the individual sensor with different types of different types of temperature related sensation, different pressure or touch related sensation. But the brain receives all these senses from the different sensations and gives the overall sensation. Okay, whether this sensation is good or bad, or it's comfortable or something else, we get sensation. Okay, so these are the different skin layer. I will not discuss in detail. And now the skin, apart from their many other functions, one of the functions is to interact with the our clothing. Okay, so it is an interface between a body and environment, and it is highly stimulus and contains specialized sensors, as I have discussed. The sensors are of basically three types of sensors. One is a mechanical sensors, which gives a mechanical interaction like touch, pressure, prickle sensation, okay, some pain sensation related to mechanical, and thermal sensation. It's a warm, cool, okay, this type of sensor. These are the general normal sensors. Apart from these two normal sensors, there is another sensor which is known as the damaging sensor, like it's called nociceptors, which are traumatic or chemical type inserts sensation. Okay, these are basically it's sometime their functions that they take reception from thermal as well as mechanical. Okay, it is in responding to this stimulus, skin sensation generates touch, pressure, pain, warm, cool, like that. So sometimes we feel pain also depending on the pressure, or maybe extreme cold or extreme heat, we feel pain. So all this understanding we have to be we should have for proper designing of our clothing. The mechanoreceptors are basically this sensor receptor respond mechanical distortion or pressure. So when we receive pressure, so the skin gets distorted and we get sensation. Okay, so basically there are many mechanical receptors, but mainly 4 receptors are there. Apart from these 4 receptors, there are other receptors. The Pacini's receptors, Ruffini, Meissner, Markel receptors. These receptors are mainly related to our clothing sensations, and they are depending on their depth of presence, they receive sensation. Apart from these receptors, there is another receptor which is hair follicle receptors, which is mainly mechanical type receptor, where we receive this sensation depending on the movement of hair. So if with the clothing, when clothing interacts with our hairs in the skin, we get some sensation which is by hair follicle receptors. Okay, these are the receptors. I'm not, and the Pacini's receptors, the main function is to detect the vibration. So rapid vibration it detects, and pressure. So you see, this is the Pacini's receptors. Its location is little bit in depth, so it gives sensation of the pressure and rapid vibration. Ruffini's ending response detecting tension in deep skin. Okay, this is the Ruffini's. So dips in the skin. This is in the skin, in the deep in the skin. You will find the Ruffini's ending. And these are called, these receptors are sometimes called nerve endings, okay, because the nervous system ends at this point. This ending point actually tries to receive the signal from the environment. And Meissner's receptors, corpuscle receptors, is a, this is the location is at the very shallow depth and where light touch is being received. And Merkel's nerve ending, sustained touch and light pressure. Okay, one is this is the light touch which is not sustained. Now you will see the Meissner receptors, its function is to have light touch. Now when we are wearing a cloth, okay, it gives, if it is not heavy, then the Meissner receptors is coming. But if we don't move, if we are stationary for some time, we will not feel the presence of our cloth, because its function, it's not sustained. It's for a few seconds it is there, then its function is, it's not able to detect anything. Then once we move, the clothing changes its position, and then again Meissner receptors, it's they sense the touch sensor. It's not the sustained receptor sensation. And hair follicle I have already explained. Sense the change in position of hair, okay. And what we will see, these sensors present in the skin, they sometimes overlap. Most of the places you will see the sensors are overlap. That means we get information, we get a sensation from all these different sensors, and ultimately we get a combined sensation. Okay, our brain receives a combined sensation. And after mechanical receptors, we have thermal receptors, which actually gives a sensation of warm and cold sensation. And these are there are two types of sensors. One is within the safe temperature. Safe temperature is with a normal temperature, and they respond differently with a constant temperature and fluctuating temperature. Okay, that I will discuss. There are basically two types of thermoreceptors: cold receptors and warm receptors, and these are subdivided into, cold receptors are subdivided into two types again, normal cold and cold pain receptors, and warm also, warm, normal warm and warm pain, hot pain receptors are there. So normal cold receptors are highly active around 25 to 30 degree Celsius temperature. Okay, their actually activity is peak at that constant temperature, and as the temperature goes lower, the cold, although we feel cold sensation, its activity, the frequency reduces gradually. Similarly, for warm receptors, 40 to 45 degree with the it's a peak sensitivity and excited by reduction in temperature. So this is the peak, and as it is reduced, temperature is reduced for cold, it is getting excited. Similarly, for warm receptor, its sensitivity increases to the skin temperature. And nociceptor is that it's a traumatic. It's a pain type receptors. Okay, like pressure. To some extent, we can bear the pressure, but as the temperature, as the pressure increases, we'll feel will not feel the touch, will not feel, we'll start feeling the pain. So that is different types of sensors. So these receptors have relatively high threshold to act as warning device. Okay, suppose some sharp edge is touching in our body, so then we'll get certain warning sensation, and we can remove our body part. Okay, that enables the organizer to protect to take protective action. Okay, so this is the nociceptor receptor as far as pressure is concerned, and they react to the potentially damaging stimuli. Okay, sending the nervous system to the spinal cord, okay, and brain. Like suddenly we have touched a hot object. What happened? So our normal warm receptors are not going to act. It's a nociceptors, and that actually gives it before it goes to brain. Before this signal goes to brain, from the spinal cord there will be from the spinal cord there will be one closed loop system. It will send signal instead of brain first. It will send signal to the muscle, and our muscle will contract and will remove our hand. Okay, so that's a type of things it works. We are not going into that mechanism, but it's a cold receptor. The extreme pain receptors are there. These are the different types of nociceptors. I'm not going to discuss, but free nerve endings are there, which are very close to the skin. There are polymodalities there, but that means they can sense the pressure or damaging pressure or the thermal sensation. Like this is the type of sensations are there. It's a pressure sensation, which is basically the this mechanical type of pressure sensation. Before we think, we will remove our hand. Okay, as soon as we get pressure. So that's a type of reflex action takes place. Similar, and here the sensor, the pain receptors actually in the skin. After this reflex action, we get the signal goes to brain. Okay, signal travels through the spinal cord, then to the brain, and where we get different types of sensations. And the thalamus that gives the sensations. First is the one is this is the sensation it gives. Then it's a frontal cortex gives a thinking and the emotion. Sometimes we may cry, we may some shout. So this type of sensation we get, but fortunately in normal clothing we don't reach up to this point, except the extreme temperature, extreme condition. So if we get this type of sensation, then we have to have redesign our clothing. So nerve ending I have discussed. I'll just go a little bit quickly here. The pressure, touch, pressure, cold, heat, different types of. Now this nerve ending gives the receives the sensation. Now this sensation we receive, maybe touch sensation, maybe pressure, cold, warm. This sensation our brain tries to evaluate. Okay, it's it gets the gets evaluated in the brain, and that the relationship between the outer sensation and the outer stimulus. Stimulus means temperature, pressure, light, whatever may be, and our internal sensation. Stimulus and internal sensation. This relationship, it's dealt with the science which is called psychophysics. Okay, there are different theories are there, different laws are there, and I have only taken the 3 laws which are typically related with the clothing. So these laws are of psychophysics is about the quantification of strength of internal sensation, okay, which can be broadly defined as the quantification of sensory experience, okay. So there it has got two aspects. One is assessment of human power of signal identification and sensory discrimination. Like you identify the signal, whether it's a touch, pressure, or warm, cold. These are the type of discrimination we should have, and that is the function of our different receptors that get signal, and signal identification is by different types of sensors, like one touch sensation and pressure sensor. You have to, we are able to, our skin, our body is able to identify whether it's touch or pressure, or whether it's warm or cold. That type of identification we have to have, okay, we should have. Next is that here, after identification, then you have to discriminate. That means if it is whether it's a soft or hard, warm or cold. So we are identifying and discriminating. If it is high, then how much high is there? So then next coming, it's a calibration. So you have we have identified, we have discriminated whether it's a touch or pressure, or whether it's a warm, cool, like that. Now, if once we have identified, then we have to calibrate. Calibrate means if it is hot, then we should be able to identify whether it's a hot, to what extent. If it is it too hot, it's a normal hot. So these are the first that is sensation we have to quantify. Okay? And Fechner is the he's called father of psychophysics. He has given his first law of psychophysics is and he has modified, but first law was proposed by Webers in 1834, but he could not do much. What he could do with the external stimulus, okay, external stimulus, what he has proposed. Yes, he could not correlate with the internal sensation, only external stimulus, like temperature is a stimulus, okay. And what he told, that magnitude of its stimulus is the just noticeable difference. That is a threshold, is a delta I of stimulus are proportional to the magnitude of the stimulus. That is that much he could tell. That now I'll give you one simple example. Let us take the stimulus as a temperature. Temperature is a stimulus. What it is telling, like at 0 degrees. Suppose you are in a room at 0 degrees Celsius. Okay. So that is the I is the magnitude. At 0 degrees Celsius, simple change of 1 degree change, that you will be able to identify. You will be able to notice the change of 1 degree if the magnitude is 0 degree. So when the room, our environment at winter, it's 0 degree, suppose it's 0 degree, even 1 degree increase, we can identify, okay, today is warmer. So today it's a 4 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow if it is 5 degree, then we will be able to identify easily that, okay, even 0.5 degrees Celsius increase, that we can identify. Similarly, if it is say 90 degrees Celsius, 90 to 91 degrees Celsius, suppose some hot object we are touching, we will not be able to identify. Suppose it's a 35 degrees Celsius, 35 and 36, the difference will not be able to identify in that way, same way as we have done with the 0 degree and 1 degree Celsius. So that's why this ratio is constant. That much he could tell. Okay, the identification of the signal. Okay, and discrimination of signal. At low temperature, even 1 degree change is noticeable, but at higher temperature, we will not be able to notice to that extent. Okay, and that ratio is constant. What he is telling. Now, this is not enough because we are not able to get the internal sensation. So what is this is a relationship what he has proposed, but in 1860, who is a Fresner, who is a father of modern psychophysics, what he has proposed that just noticeable physical stimulus, that is the I as a unit of measurement of internal sensation is they are actually proportional, and the I stimulus moves with a logarithmic scale, and this is in a normal scale. It goes so sensation is increases in arithmetic step, and intensity of physical stimulus is in a logarithmic scale. Okay, that means stimulus means our physical stimulus means suppose temperature is increasing. Okay, that's, and S is internal. We are feeling warm. Is S. So environmental temperature is increasing, and our body gets some sensation. It's a warm sensation we are getting, and that is related in logarithm scale. Okay, that's what he has proposed. This type of scale is there, and K depends on the various environmental factors and body physiology. Okay. Then in 1950s, Stevens he has proposed it's a power law which is still valid. We actually people at different field of research they are doing. Unfortunately, in textile, we could not find too much work, but this area is wide open. One can work on textile. Okay, this psychophysics, and it's a power relationship. Okay, K is a scale factor and A is an exponent characteristics of the physical stimulus. So that what type of physical stimulus are there? So depending on that, this A value will change. Okay. Now I'll give you one example. So this is a power exponent depends on the modality, stimulus intensity. Let us go give one example like this. This is one simple example. It will be very simple. Now, S is the magnitude of estimate, that internal stimulus, what we have got, internal sensation. S is the sensation, K is a constant, I is a physical intensity of the material, intensity of the stimulus. Like if it is light, intensity of light. If it is a pressure, it is intensity of pressure. Okay, and N is the exponent which gives the actually type of nature of sensation. It gives, like, let us get an idea with a simple experimental result. These are the published result I have taken. Like brightness is actually its exponent is less than 1. It's in a fraction 0.33. So once it is less than 1, the curve will be like this. Now 1 exponent means a straight line. Okay, and in the electric shock, if you see, it's a, I think please mute your mic. Please mute your mic. Please mute your mic.
If you go particular owners course, that could be तुमने सुना होगा न्यूज़ में कि स्टाइल को बहुत बना तो वो चीज भी है लेकिन दिस इज इट विल बी बेटर इफ यू
Will you please mute your mic?
few or that but it is your intellectual level. You should know what you are going to do. So only we can.
Will you please mute your mic? Okay. So electric shock is 3.5. Now, what does it show? What does it show? So this exponent is very important, and we can identify this, we can get this type of exponent for our textile material, for different types of textile material. That will be very good way of research. Okay. Now, just see brightness. Brightness nature is the exponent is 0.33. What does it mean? Initially, with the increase of brightness, small increase of brightness, the physical our sensation is very high. After that, the sensation gets slowly increased. What does it show? Suppose you are in a dark room. In a dark room, we are there, and we are getting some sensation. Okay, darkness sensation. Now, from the pinhole, very small pinhole, now light has started coming. Once it started coming from the pinhole with a very small stimulus increase, say 0.0001 type of thing, your sensation will be, you will see its light is coming. Your sensation will increase a lot. Okay, and gradually it's the light, if light in brightness is increasing, sorry, light brightness is increasing, our level of sensation will gradually increase, although, but it will the rate will be less. Similarly, electric shock. Suppose our electric shock voltage is at a very low level voltage. Although we will start getting shock, but it may not be that much. We will not be able to sense that much way. Okay, but once the electric shock is electric voltage is increasing, suddenly we will feel sudden shock. So that's why this exponent is more than 3. So this exponent shows the nature of the sensation which we will get by the stimulus. Okay. So this, and now mechanical, now we'll come to back to our clothing. So our mechanical sensory perception by the by our clothing will be that related to mechanical stimulus. These are the different sensors. There are two types of stimulus we get. One is related to mechanical receptors stimulus. Another is the thermal sensation. So the mechanical sensors are of sensations are of 4 types. So wear sensation during activity. So when we are wearing a cloth and we are doing some activity, so that type of sensation we will get. Then prickle, itch, rash type of sensation depending on the type of clothing. So, and then touch and pressure sensation depending on the body of our size of the clothing, and roughness and scratchiness sensation. So depending on the friction and type of fiber used. Okay. So this type of, all these types of sensations are related to mechanical sensation. And if we understand all this, if we know, then we can design our clothing for better comfort sensation. So the wear sensation during activities, this is first point. Activities are basically of 2 types. One is a dynamic contact type, another is the static contact type. When we move, our body part moves, and our clothing generates different new contact area. There the pressures are different at different area. Okay, different portion, and this spreads over a wide area with a different sensitivity. So our body part, you will find there it has got different sensitivity depending on the number and type of mechanical sensors present at different part. And our clothing is covering our entire body, and we get sensation from a different part. Okay, and depending, once we are moving, our sensation will change. Okay, if the body, we are wearing some, suppose our loose fit clothing, our clothing will start moving and we'll get different types of sensation. Okay, that's called sensation during activity, pressure and different sensitivity level. And due to change in activity level, what happened? Our body physiological parameters changes, like our body temperature increases, our body sweating we may start, and then total sensation will keep changing. Okay, rate of sweating, temperature of the skin, moisture content of the skin. Once the moisture content changes, the friction between clothing and the skin will change, and that will give different types of sensation. So we have to design our clothing depending on the type of body temperature or sweating rate, or maybe moisture level, or because sweating and body temperature, skin temperature, not body temperature. Body temperature is always constant, but sweating rate and skin temperature and moisture at the skin depends on the environmental condition also. So we have to understand the relationship between the environmental condition and body activity along with the activity level of the body, and which generates various new thermal stimuli. Like if the environmental temperature changes gradually, say from 0 degree to up to 32 degrees Celsius, our sweat gland will start secreting the sweat, because our body skin temperature is increasing and body will start releasing the sweat, and then our the sensation will keep changing. Okay, so mechanical sensation, and there are new contact point changes. As I have, once we move the clothing will move towards and away from the skin, new mechanical body will move frequently at different portion, new contact point will generate, and we'll start getting new mechanical stimuli. Okay, and this stimulus will be actually using the laws of psychophysics. We can evaluate the type of sensation. Even the body fit clothing, like a body fit innerwear, also in a body fit, once the clothing is not moving, but still depending on the expansion and contraction of our muscle, the body fit clothing will exert different level of pressure. Okay, then coming to the prickle sensation, which is a very common type of uncomfortable sensations. It is basically, it's a pricks by the fine pricks by the hairs. The fabric with a coarse hair will with a higher bending rigidity will try to the fiber will try to penetrate inside the our skin and excite the pain receptors. Okay, person feels prickle sensation when he wears a woolen inner garment. Okay, especially coarse wool. Okay, in hot and humid condition. So why hot and humid condition? In hot and humid condition, we feel more prickle because it's a our outer layer, dead skin, will get softened, and the coarse means it's a wool. It may be for other fibers. If once it's coarse, the bending rigidity is high, and it can penetrate easily in the through the outer layer. Okay? And prickle usually described as the sensation of many gentle prick. It's if there is a very few number of hairs will not get prickle sensation. There has to be a large number of sensors, prickle sensation. Okay. Now, the degree of discomfort due to prickle depends on varies with the person to person. That is depending on the type of skin and their physiological condition, okay, and skin type and humidity and temperature of the atmosphere. That's so type of fiber used in the clothing. So what we can do, we cannot control the human physiology, skin type and temperature and humidity of the atmosphere, but what we can control the type of fiber used or type of yarns used. We can control to actually counteract the prickle, itch or rash sensation. And but before that, we have to understand all these signs. Okay. Low grade activity of pain receptors. Okay. And the stimulus, the experimental published research says that the fibers with load capacity approximately 75 milligram force, that is the buckling force. If it is there, then it will be able to give the generate the prickle sensation. Okay, and minimum number of high load bearing fiber ends should be there, and there should be certain minimum contact area. What are these? These are the basically 3 to 7 10 square centimeter. Okay, so density high load bearing fiber end is less than 3 parts 10 square centimeter. So if it is less than 3 parts 10 square centimeter, then will not be able to get the prickle sensation. But it has to be more than that. Normally in our fabric which we get the prickle sensation, it's always more than that. And skin contact, it should be typically more than 5 square centimeter. Okay, that's more. It should be more than that. Then only we will get the prickle sensation. Okay. And there are various other factors like female skin is more sensitive towards prickle sensation, and even with the age of a person, it's as its skin gets harder. So same fabric, one child and one old person, they will feel the different types of prickle sensation. And another thing, in a glabrous skin, where the like our mainly hairy skin, we get the prickle sensation, because in glabrous skin the pain sensors are not there. Okay, like in our this pain sensors in our palm or in body skin, where hairless portion, finger, palm, sole, sole of the foot. So we don't get the prickle sensation in these areas, but other areas where the hairy skin, particularly where these nociceptors are there. So in hot and humid environment, person feels more prickle. As I have discussed, it gets softened, and the skin gets, outer epidermis consists of dead cell. Okay, and prickle sensitivity increased with the increase in ambient temperature at the range of 12 to 32. So that's important. So if you see, it is correlated with the activity of the our this sweat gland. Sweat gland activity increases from 12 to 32 degrees Celsius. Okay, that's a sweat gland, and that prickle sensitivity also increases with that. So it's at same fabric at cold environments like woolen. If you wear woolen directly in cold environment we will not feel prickle sensation, but as it temperature increases from 12 degrees Celsius, we will start feeling prickle sensitivity, and its maximum around, it reaches around 32 degrees Celsius due to perspiration. And roughness sensation is also there. They are related with the frictional force, okay, and mean surface roughness coefficient, that if we can check, we can measure this thing, this characteristics, we can actually predict the roughness. We can control the roughness, okay, and compressional characteristics. Suppose if we cannot control the roughness of the surface, then we have to control the softness of the compressibility of the material, okay, like needle punch fabric. If it is very compact needle punch fabric and one is very loose needle punch fabric, loose needle punch fabric is actually very compressible needle punch fabric, will not give that much roughness. But if it is very compact, highly compact fabric, that will give us the surface roughness. And fiber diameter is also an important, as the fiber diameter increases, the bending rigidity increases, and the fabric roughness also increases. Tensile characteristics of fiber, modulus is important. So tensile characteristics of fabric also, breaking elongation or modulus of fiber. So all this type of characteristics we have to take care. So elastic recovery. So where filament diameter, once it is increasing, so the roughness sensation increases. Bending rigidity increases, scratchiness sensation also increases. So higher fiber fiber to skin friction, higher will be the scratchiness. Clinginess is also one characteristics which actually gives the discomfort when particularly once we sweat. So this clinginess is related with the bending rigidity of the fiber. Okay, the lower the flexural rigidity of fiber, the greater will be the clinginess. Okay. That means if it is a very fine fiber, we'll feel this type of sensation. Where in the workwear, when people get sweat, okay, suppose one and to remove this type of clinginess, we must use the fiber with a higher bending rigidity. Coarse fiber we have to use. So you will see that you have to first identify what type of problem we are trying to solve. We cannot, one thing we must remember. We must remember first, if we want to produce comfortable fabric, one thing we must remember, must accept, we cannot produce a fabric or clothing which will be comfortable to entire range of the environment and activity. It's not possible. We have to identify the type of activity level, type of environmental level, then only we have to design our clothing. So after this, another characteristics which are related with the both mechanical and the thermal related, which is called warmness and heaviness. Okay. Now, in a hot weather, a fabric with higher mass per unit area, if you are heavier cloth, you will feel much heavier. Okay, and you will feel that much of uncomfortable. Say, suppose in a warm weather, you are wearing one suit, which is heavier in weight mass, so they will feel uncomfortable. Okay, that's due to the both warmness and heaviness. Okay, and the rating of the tactile sensation of heaviness alone is very low. Okay, so since heaviness is related to the warmness, so two sensations have been combined. Like in a suit length, in suit woolen suit we are wearing, in air conditioned room will not feel any discomfort. But once we have started sweating in the warm condition and humid condition, then we will feel the discomfort. And this is basically related with the directly heaviness. Warmness might be more dependent on the fabric thickness, okay, than the weight. And heaviness is more dependent on the weight than thickness. So this mass of fabric and thickness of fabric, they are actually combination of that will be a parameter. So if you have got a parameter which is a product of fabric weight and fabric thickness, then you can predict that whether this fabric will be uncomfortable or not. So if you are so that way you have to compare. Like I'll tell you, suppose your fabric thickness you have to have higher fabric thickness. Then you have to design a clothing which will be lower in fabric mass. So that way we have to design. Okay. Now coming to the thermal receptors. Thermal receptors, it's basically, as we have discussed, there are 4 types of thermal receptors. One is cold receptors, and the warm heat receptors, and the cold pain receptors, and the heat pain, hot pain receptors. There are 4 different types of receptors. You can see the cold receptors location is very close to the skin, and heat receptors a little bit in the lower in the skin depth. 2 types of cold receptors and warm receptors are there. And cold receptors, their peak sensitivity is around 25 to 30 degrees Celsius, and it's excited by reduction in temperature. That is a peak sensitivity, and they will be excited by reduction in temperature. Similarly, warm receptors, this I have already explained. Now you can see here the number of receptors, average number of receptors per square centimeter in a human body. In the skin, you'll see in the finger, the number of receptors are high, but in the chest, it's highest. Okay, and you can see in the inner part of the finger, it's lower. So this type, its outer part is high. So at different part, the number of receptors are high, and this is the warm receptor. Number of warm receptors per unit area is much lower than the cold receptors. Now, if you see here in the chest area, we get much more sensation. So to protect ourselves from the cold, if we can cover our chest area. Suppose I am wearing one only shirt, and it's I have entered one in a cold room. It's say negative temperature, minus 10 degrees Celsius room environment. I don't have anything other than one towel or one shirt I am wearing, and a shirt pant, and I have only one towel. Can anyone tell if you have to keep yourself warm? Okay, which portion we should cover? We always try to cover our chest portion, because their sensitivity, cold sensitivity is more we get, because number of sensors are more in that sensor. Okay. And if you see that, as I have mentioned, this is the cold receptors. Okay, cold receptors activity is that is discharge frequency is highest at around 25 degrees Celsius, and it gradually reduces. Okay, and gradually reduces here. Similarly, in warm receptors around 45 degrees Celsius, it gradually reduces. Now, once it's reducing, cold receptors, suppose let us take example cold receptors. Now it's say at around 5 degrees Celsius. At around 5 degrees Celsius, the cold receptors, its function is 0, it doesn't actually, it's not active. It doesn't get any sensation from the environment. Okay. At around 5 degrees Celsius, cold receptors, normal cold receptors function is over. Then it's taken over by the cold pain receptors, which function starts from the 15 degrees Celsius. And see, at say 10 degrees Celsius, if you are going out in winter around say 10 degrees Celsius or maybe 8 degrees Celsius, you will feel cold. Along with the cold, you will feel certain pain type of sensation you will feel, although cold. So here both cold and pain receptors are active. Okay, but once you are crossing that 5 degrees Celsius level, below 5 degrees Celsius, cold receptors are not active. Then gradually pain receptors are taking, cold pain receptors. As you are going towards the negative by 0 degree, 5 degree, and as you are going towards the negative, okay, 0 degree or negative, this pain receptors activity will keep on increasing. Now I am giving one example. Suppose you are having, you are actually one ice block is pressed against your skin. At the initial stage, you will start feeling cold because your receptors have started getting sensation of temperature, and that receptors, as they are at the skin, inside the skin, so it will take certain time, and that's why when it will not immediately reach to 0 degrees Celsius, but after say couple of seconds, 1 second or 2 seconds, the receptor will start feeling the 0 degrees Celsius. It's ice. That's why, sorry, after certain time, you will not feel cold. You will start feeling pain because its cold receptors are not working in that zone. At 0 degrees Celsius, only pain receptors will work. So you will start feeling pain, not the cold pain. So you keep the ice block pressed against your body for say 10 minutes, you will feel the pain. Similarly, once the temperature is more than say 50 degrees Celsius, you will start feeling the hot pain receptors. Like in boiling water, when we dip our hand, we don't feel warm. After say 1 second or couple of seconds, we start feeling the pain. So because warmth sensation is not there, the hot pain mixed with the hot sensation is there. Similarly, at 0 degrees Celsius, pain mixed with the cold sensations are there. So this type of sensations are there. So this has been explained. I'm not going in all this, but what is there? These are at certain constant temperature we are talking about. Okay, once it is a ice, so we are talking about the ice, cold 0 degrees Celsius. But if it is, so this has been discussed, and cold receptors location little bit higher, average location, whereas warm receptors location is 0.3 to 0.6 millimeter, and due to the shallow location of the cold receptors and number of high receptors, number of receptors is higher than the warm receptors. So we have due to the presence of higher number of and shallower depth of cold receptors, humans are more sensitive to the danger from the cold than heat. Okay, this is the constant temperature of the cold receptors and only warm receptors and only cold receptors. Now for changing condition, you will see this is the impulse frequency of cold receptor. Now this is a temperature condition. Initially for certain time the temperature is constant, suddenly the temperature is increased, and it's for the sometime you are there, and suddenly it's. Now I'm giving you one example. Suppose we are at a normal environment. Now I have entered into a hot chamber. Suddenly I have entered in a hot chamber of say 100 degrees Celsius. Hot chamber, I am there for certain time. Okay. And then from there I have suddenly jumped into a cold pool with say around say 4 degree, 5 degrees Celsius temperature, cold swimming pool. I have jumped into that. What type of sensitivity I will get? Like this is a cold receptor, warm receptor. If you see here, the sensitivity will suddenly jump, suddenly increase. Cold receptors, warm receptors function. So once we are from normal temperature to suddenly warm loop, in a fraction of seconds, suddenly we'll feel sudden cold, warm. But that activity will, that sensitivity will gradually little bit normalized. And once the temperature is dropped, you will not feel the warm receptors function will not be there. Okay, but then cold receptor, once you are jumping into the swimming pool, cold swimming pool, we have actually experienced. Once we actually pour cold water during the winter, suddenly we feel cold. That's why, because this activity is increased. Suddenly it is impulse frequency jump. And but next bucket, if you pour, you will not feel that, because it's gradually it has been normalized. So this type of sensitivity is there. So our clothing design has to be there, because we have, if we know that we have to move from hot, warm to cold, cold to warm, so that way we have to design our clothing to protect ourselves. So this I am not going to discuss. We have already touched upon. Like for example, the stronger sensation of cold or warm felt upon entering a cold pool or hot tub. So this type of, initially we get this type of sensation. But what about moisture sensation? We get warm pain, cold pain, pressure, everything. But moisture sensitivity, if we are talking about, we don't have any sensors in our body, in our skin, which sense the moisture sensation. Then how do we get the moisture? Our body is wet and all these things. We don't get that sensation directly, but indirectly we get. Suppose once we sweat in some of the body part, we don't actually get sensation actually we are sweating or not. But once the sweat is dripping, our hair will move through the hair follicle, nerve ending, that we get the mechanical sensation. Okay, something, the water or sweat is actually moving throughout the, dripping throughout the skin. Or through the temperature sensation, or warm or cold, like our body is sweating and it's getting started evaporating, and it takes the latent heat from our body, and our skin is getting cooler, and we get indirectly through the temperature sensors. So we should remember that we don't have any sensor which sense the moisture of our body. And then it's a warm cool type of feeling. What we get here, that's a warm cool touch, which is very important for our clothing design. And as soon as the warm cool touch, actually if the temperature of the clothing is say lower than our body temperature, body skin temperature, then the heat will flow from the body to the clothing. Clothing will receive the, and that depends on the type of clothing, whether it will receive the clothing temperature, or it will receive at faster rate. It has to actually receive it will take the heat at a faster rate, then only we will feel cooler. And if we have to design our clothing cool touch clothing, we have to design select our fiber, select our clothing structure, yarn structure in such a fashion the heat flow from our body to clothing is faster. Okay, higher the rate of the heat flow, more rapid will with the drop of the temperature, and we will feel cooler. So warm cool sensation depends on the type of fabric. Okay, and it is basically thermal inertia of material which determines the heat flow rate of heat flow, and which depends on the density of material, specific heat of material, and thermal conductivity of material. Now, apart from this is the material related factor. Suppose our fabric, our fiber, we are using cotton. Cotton has got a constant density, constant specific heat, constant thermal conductivity. Now, with the cotton, can we design a clothing which will be cool touch or warm touch? Yes, we can do. We have to remember that the rate of heat flow has to be there. So we should know other parameters other than these three parameters. What are the other parameters? These are the other parameters. Any material that can conduct heat well will easily draw the heat. That is the normal material. And fabric structural feature, particularly surface property. If we can design, if we can have the redesign our surface characteristic, then we can generate the cool or warm feeling. Now, you can see here, cool fabric, the coolness sensation is essentially by measuring the initial rate of temperature change. So you can see the contact time, initial rate of within say 4 seconds of here, rate of this has got a higher rate of change. That's why this fabric will be used for the higher rate of changing. It's a cool fabric. Cool fabric. This can be used for the summer fabric. Okay, cool fabric. Similarly, for this will be warm fabric where change in skin temperature is not that high. Okay. So maximum heat flux within a initial time, which is known as the Qmax value, which gives the idea about the warm or cool touch. So Kawabata predicts the warm cool touch by this. So this is the Qmax value. So it has got very high rate of heat flux initially. So that's why this is the used for summer clothing. And here it's a winter clothing with a lower heat flow from the body. Now, apart from, as I have mentioned, apart from the fiber characteristics, so which is given here, these are the different fibers with a different Qmax value. You can see here, linen has got highest Qmax and wool has got lowest Qmax. That means linen is known to be a cool fabric, cool fiber, and wool is warm fiber because of the this Qmax value. So for designing the warm fabric, you can design select the fiber depending on the Qmax value, and also with the increase in moisture content. If the moisture content of fabric increases, fabric becomes cool because it will try to absorb heat quickly. So it is our common experience. If we touch one dry cotton fabric and one wet cotton fabric will give a cool touch. Although their temperatures are same, you keep the dry fabric and wet fabric in a same standard temperature for say 24 hours. They are in the same temperature. But if you touch both dry and wet fabric, the wet fabric will be cooler, although the temperature is same, because it will try to draw the heat quickly. So this is now the sensitivity of coolness sensitivity we can control by controlling the fabric surface characteristics. Now, if we must have experienced a cotton bed sheet, normal plain woven bed sheet, and one is satin bed sheet. Satin bed sheet will give us the cool touch, and normal plain woven fabric will give us a warm touch. Same fabric, same fiber, same yarn, same ends per inch, peaks per inch, only by designing, because satin fabric means it's a higher float length, and it will give higher contact area. So number of contact amount of area of contact area, or number of contact points, if we can increase with our skin, that means it will draw more and more heat from the body. So by selecting the proper fiber, proper yarn designing, proper fabric designing, we can get the warm cool touch. But one must remember, this warm cool touch, it's not permanent, it's not cool fabric. If we keep the body in contact for some time, again it will the temperature movement temperature will be normalized, it will be balanced, then we will not feel warm cool touch. Then how the fabric becomes warm cool touch? It maintains because of the movement, body movement. If we keep moving our body, the fabric, the clothing will actually generate new and new contact points, and again this the Qmax will the situation will generate, it will keep on drawing the heat from the body. So now coming to the almost last part of our the sensation, that is the handle related sensation. Tactile sensation, it's basically we generate, experience by all this type of subjective methods, but objectively it has been assessed. There are instruments available. Kawabata they have developed, and they have expressed these sensations in terms of fullness, springiness, stiffness, crispness, hardness. This type of sensations they have developed. They have given different Japanese terms, okay, but they have derived all this by simple measurement of the low stress mechanical characteristics like tensile, shear, bending, compression, okay. And this low stress objective assessment you can convert into the subjective expressions, okay. They are correlated, they are able to correlate with the different equation, okay. So all these parameters are taken. Now with the on published literature, I will try to understand the sensation, okay. Just try to see here in this research paper, they have studied the effect of density, like yarn density, only peak density they have changed, and yarn twist and yarn count on fabric handle expression, okay. They are talking about the expression, okay, that sensation, okay. Now I'll explain few fabrics, like taffeta is a very commonly used fabric, which is, you should remember, it's twistless continuous filament. Normally it's made of the silk, taffeta, twistless fabric. Okay, yarn both in warp and wave direction. Wave yarn density was changed. So wave yarn density is changed. Taffeta is a fabric with a twistless yarn. Okay, maybe from synthetic or silk. Silk fabric we have used. You must you have touched silk fabric. Just remember the sensation of the silk fabric. Okay. Then it's a crepe fabric. Crepe fabric also we have experienced. We have touched the crepe fabric. It's a continuous filament with high twisted here. In weft and low twisted in warp. So small crepes are there. You can just feel the sensation of the crepe fabric. Because I have in a physical interaction, I have the sample. I can give you the sample. You can just feel the sensation. Then we will try to correlate with our fabric characteristics, fabric parameters. And if you want to change this sensation, how to change? Okay. Georgette is a very common fabric, high twisted, continuous filament used in both warp and weft. Okay. And another is pongi, which is a fabric, continuous twist, false twisted fabric. It's a bulky fabric, false twisted fabrics, continuous filament, both in warp and weft. It's flexible and fullness. That is, it's a highly flexible. Now, based on this fabric, another is chiffon. Chiffon is it's continuous filament, high twisted, Z and S twisted. Okay. They are mixed with the warp and weft direction. So these are the very commonly used fabric. Now try to see. Here, the koshi is a Japanese term where we are using the term here stiffness. Ends per inch, peaks per inch are constant for a here peaks per inch. They are equivalent fabric. Now all other parameters are equal. Now we are changing the, if you see the taffeta is a twistless continuous filament, and pongi is the false twisted fabric. You will see the stiffness. If you want to generate stiffness in a cloth without changing anything, without changing the mass per unit area, I want a stiffer fabric, little bit stiffer fabric. You go for twistless filament. Okay. Similarly, if you want increasing the twist, you will see the koshi value is changing. This koshi value, stiffness value is changing. That means with the increase in twist or increase in false twisting, so your fabric stiffness reduces. Okay. Similarly, if we keep on increasing the peaks per, make it compact, that type of stiffness will increase. The koshi type of stiffness, it's some stiffness will increase. Okay, it's directly not only the bending stiffness. Koshi is a combination of many other parameters I will discuss. Okay. Similarly, hari is an anti-drape stiffness. You can see the taffeta again, anti-drape stiffness is high. Shinai Akasha, another term, is a flexibility with soft feeling. Okay, so higher value, the pongi is giving flexibility. With the pongi means what is the false twisted continuous filament. It has got high flexibility with soft feeling. Whereas taffeta with a continuous filament with a twistless filament, it is giving lower value of the flexibility. And flexibility reduces with the increase in this peaks part. It's not just opposite to that of koshi. Shinai Akasha, you cannot tell that it's just opposite. It's a feeling. It's a some flexibility, the soft feel. Okay. Fukurami, fullness and softness. It's another feeling, okay? Like we'll see the false twisted will have higher fullness and softness. So like that we get this type of feeling, and this we can predict by shari. It's a crispness. You'll see the crispy fabric. That means you will see the Georgette fabric has got, if you touch, it's a crispiness, like surface smooth roughness, the type of thing, okay? And the taffeta is the twistless continuous filament. It's not that much crisp, okay? Like scroopy feeling. It's another type of feeling where taffeta is got higher scroopy feeling. So these are the internal feeling, and these are correlated with these parameters. I have taken 3 parameters here. Like Cauchy is a stiffness, and stiffness is not directly related only with the bending rigidity. Okay, it has got 37% influence on with bending rigidity, but there are many other characteristics like bending hysteresis, okay, like shear rigidity, shear hysteresis. All these characteristics are there. Chinai Akasha, which is actually nothing but flexible with soft feeling. So they are relative relations, okay. And from this, all these characters, we can get the fabric sensation, okay. And control this sensation. You can control this bending rigidity, bending hysteresis. All this, if you can control in mu SMD, if you can control, then you can control the all this sensation. I think I'll stop here. Okay, thank you. If you have any question, any queries, I'll be happy to answer. Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Is there any query, participants? So there is a query in the chat box. Is asking if we like to design a clothing which can be used for both winter and summer season. In that case, please let us know which fiber we need to select, or any combination of fibers to be selected.
I told you, clothing you cannot use for many. If you want to have comfort clothing, then you have to select the clothing depending on the environmental condition, body activity condition, and everything. One clothing cannot give you comfortable to even forget about all every temperature condition. Even slight change in temperature condition, that fabric will not be able to give comfortable condition. Like I'm wearing this clothing, okay, it's a cotton clothing. It's comfortable in this AC room, okay. But once I am out of this AC room, once I am sweating, or I am jogging, or I am doing some activities, I may not feel comfortable, because that's why in sports clothing, sportswear, high active sportswear, we need different types of clothing. Like cotton is not comfortable there. So first thing you should accept, I cannot design a clothing which will be comfortable for all the environment. That much that you have to accept, then you should go ahead. If you try to design a clothing which will be comfortable or usable for all the environment, then I can tell you, you will be wasting your time. Don't waste time. You first accept that is the limitation that we cannot do. But if you ask me to design a clothing suitable for a particular environmental condition, particular activity condition, body activity, but then I can design. Otherwise, it is difficult.
So there is another question that is for sportswear. Which fiber is good for the inner and outer wear?
Achha, I think Manpreet is there. Manpreet Mansaya. Professor Manpreet Mansaya is there. I saw she's there. Manpreet, are you there? Manpreet Mansaya. She was there, no?
Manpreet, yes, sir, she is there, but she's on hold.
On hold, no? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that she will be able to answer. She should answer. Okay. Now the question is that what is the question?
So for sportswear, which fiber is good for inner and outer wear?
Sports. Actually, that what type of sports you are trying to do? Because normally it's a high active sports. High active sports. It's a polyester. Polyester we normally use. Okay. Polyester with a special cross section. Okay, so that high active sports are first is that activity is that we have to actually absorb moisture, have to transmit moisture at very fast rate. Cotton is not. Okay.
So for both inner and outer layer, it's polyester.
No. That depending on the type of clothing. And for inner wear, one can use that polypropylene or something, and outer wear because we have to have wicking. We have to have wicking and then sometimes people use wool also, but it depends, and we have to have different design.
Sir, they are saying that sportswear like t-shirt in soccer.
T-shirt in soccer, it's a basically 100% polyester with your different cross section, not the circular cross section, your hexagonal cross section and different types, so that a channel is there with higher shape factors, as much as high shape factor you have to there, so that high wicking will be there. You have to have higher wicking rate, not the absorption. Not the absorption. One should remember it should not absorb. It should not absorb them and hold. It should wick from the inner surface to outer surface.
Any other question from the participants?
I think Vaishali has. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Someone raised.
Smriti, if there are no questions, we can end the session, and thank you, Professor Apurva Das, for sparing your time, sir.
Thank you.
It's really kind of you. Every
it's
time we approach you, we are never disappointed.
This is our day. This is the only activity we have.
Yeah, but still, sir, you are already so busy, and you always say yes to whatever we approach you with. Thank you so much.
That's fine.
And so the next session actually would start from 2:30. And
So
if anybody,
can I
yeah.
leave now?
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you have any question, anything,
yeah,
okay, you can please contact me or through Professor Monica. And if you need any presentation, anything, I'll be happy to share. Okay.
Yeah, we'll be contacting you, sir, if we get some kind of inquiry from the participants.
Okay, you just let us know. Let me know. I'll give it. Okay.
Yeah, sure, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good day.
Good day.
So Smriti, you can wind up and just talk about the time the next session will start and the expert and the topic.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, so for the next session, 2:30 is the timing. Professor A. Mukhopadhyay will be presenting. So see you in that session. Thank you.